Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch.
She noticed that we're always together. Do you agree with that? We're always up upon each other. That's
we talk a lot, yeah.
Okay. So I want a lifestyle where we're able to give each other space and we're not always all up on each other.
Okay. So he wants a little bit more space. It's fine. She is saying, I have no one. I just moved here. You're the only one I know. Okay. So it's not terribly unreasonable. I don't know why he's leading with this, because the last conversation they had, he was literally saying he didn't necessarily want to get married to her. So I don't understand what he's saying. And then he leads also with, I was talking with my grandma, and then, so I'm beginning to think that, because the conversation, I didn't show it, I didn't react to it, but the conversation with his grandma was more just a very typical kind of conversation that will happen in real life and what will happen on the show, where the grandma didn't really say anything. She's just like, I think you two need to think about things or something. I mean, maybe I don't remember everything, but anyway, instead of saying, I've thought about it, he says, I was talking with my grandma, and now I have this assertive thing that I want to say to you. And that is triangulation, right? Instead of just being straightforward. Now, of course, you could be influenced, or it could be a part of a conversation you had with someone else, but to lead with that is to triangulate, because you don't feel confident in yourself, or you're undifferentiated, or you don't even know what you want. And so you have to drag someone in to somehow justify what you're saying in that moment. And of course, the triangulation is not super heavy, but it's present in this relationship with the grandma and the parents, particularly the mom. Okay. So he leads with that, fine. I think most people wouldn't have a lot of sympathy for Jibri in this moment, because it's like, okay, she gives up everything, and she's been ganged up on by everybody for, I think, no reason. She's been clothed and body shamed by people. She is trying her best. She wants a beach wedding, and she was on the demanding spectrum, on the spectrum of demanding about that. But on the scale of things, it's not like a major crime. She also isn't super enthusiastic, I think, about his musical career, which I don't, in as far as it interferes with their relationship or something, which she's not preventing him from having his music. The other thing I'll say is that Jibri had a conversation with his grandma, and I don't know if I'm reading into it correctly, but he was saying, when I first met Miona, she had 30,000 followers on Instagram, and she was doing all, and she was doing everything great. Her social media game was top notch, and at first I was like, oh, okay. It's just, when you hear that, you think, well, that seems superficial or strange. But when you have a partner and your partner is good at something and they're into something, it's attractive. It's inspiring. It means that they have a life. It means they're interesting. It means they have a passion. And it's not just like attractive, because it can be, but it also means that they don't necessarily depend on you, that there will be things to talk about, that you both can share your lives with each other. And a lot of people do consider their Instagram pages to be a creative, artistic expression. So there's that side of it. But on the less charitable side, Jibri was attracted to her, and there's a number of different data points that I can point to that I'm sure y'all remember, that point to Jibri is into her, at least in part, because of the outward-facing thing that she adds to his life. Not that he's superficial. And I'm guessing behind closed doors they do have a good relationship, and that they are compatible in a lot of ways. I just have to figure, because they don't fight very much and they seem bonded. I mean, I guess they could just be in bed both on Instagram the entire time, but they don't seem that way. But anyway, so, and I've seen this before. I don't see it that often, but it does happen. People that are very oriented towards fame, as a lot of musicians are, their sole focus, they're just laser focused on that everything is seen through that lens. So they meet someone and they have an inkling maybe to befriend that person, but they're like, well, and this is maybe even partially subconscious, like, will this person enhance my focus on becoming famous? Will this person look bad next to me as I walk down the sidewalk? I wonder if Jibri was thinking Miona was a good portion of why he wanted to be with her, because of this other reason, not because of their relationship and their compatibility and their companionship. And when she started to present a more, I think, down-to-earth approach to their relationship of just like, I want this to be about us. I don't necessarily care about your music. I don't care about, I want to build a family. I don't know what she's saying exactly, but it seems like in that direction, that actually bothers him. He's like, no. I actually was attracted to you a good portion because I thought you would fit well into this path I was on, you know? So I don't know if I'm reading into that. I'm sure that they have a lot of nuance and depth that is never presented on camera. That's almost always the case on this show. So I don't want to accuse him of being that way entirely, but it just makes you wonder if that is part of the rub. But anyway, he is once again kind of parroting things that he's been told by his family instead of just saying what he wants. And if I were Miona, she's been very healthy in the past, and just say something to him, and just like, well, what do you want? Like, do you want some distance? Because that's okay, but do you want to be with me? Because I'm getting some messages that you don't. So tell me now either way.
You give me space and I give you space when you need it, and we respect that. So if I'm in the studio in LA and I got to be there for a 12 hours straight, you're going to have to figure out what you're doing. I can't be thinking about you in the back of my mind. So please don't be a distraction for me. Please. If anything, keep me focused. That's the type of wife that I imagine myself to have.
Seems a little focused on him. It's like, so hopefully you can say, and, you know, if I'm getting in your way, I want you to be able to draw boundaries with me as well, because I want to support you in what you're doing. The way he's talking, it's more like she's an accessory to his career or life or something. Now, I don't know if he's referring to her invading his space while he's working. He seems to be alluding to that, but did we see a scene of that? I don't remember. Like when he was recording, was she blowing up his phone the whole time and getting upset? I don't remember seeing that.
So if we can't get on the same page, I'm telling you it's not going to work, and we're going to set ourselves up for disaster.
I don't understand his intensity. Either they did not show what was happening, which is entirely possible, or he's parroting things that he's been influenced, or I don't know. Like, I don't understand his whole vibe right now. Like, on the show, often I'm like, okay, I get where they're coming from. I don't understand where the foundation for this conversation. And she doesn't seem to be reactive. She's like, oh, okay.
Jibri couldn't work on his music for the last month or two because we had so many other things happening right now. And I understand that that's important to him. So I definitely need to learn how to be independent a little bit more. But staying in Rapid City makes it really difficult.
Yeah, the more and more we see of Miona, the more accommodating and mature and differentiated she seems. So I think a lot of people would be on Miona's side on this, so I come here for us to get married, and I haven't been to the States before, or I haven't been with you in the States before, I don't know. And I'm seen as this massive, like, cling on to you for the first 30 days, 40 days, because you weren't able to do as much. You did go to the studio, by the way, but you weren't able to do as much. And it's like my fault. Like I think most people would say, Jibri, like, at least temporarily, it's a space of a lot of helping her to acclimate, getting her to know your family. Obviously, you're shooting this show, which has a lot of time spent. So, but she's rolling with it. She's like, okay, yeah, I should be more independent, and so she's able to adjust. So that if that's indicative of what's going on behind the scenes, her differentiation, her fairness, her accommodatingness, I don't understand, but who knows what's going on behind this. I don't understand why Jibri's coming at her so hard.
Are you going to be able to do that?
Okay. I'm willing to give it a shot.
Okay. So she's like, okay. Yeah, because the way he comes at her, you're thinking he's preparing for a fight. Like, he didn't have to come at her that hard. She sounds like she's like, okay. And then, but then it makes you wonder if he has a very emphatic way of talking. You know, in fact, when I was younger, I don't get this anymore. And maybe I was distorted. I probably was to some extent. People would sometimes tell me that I was like, I seemed angry or something. In fact, I remember in college when I was like 19, I had a really good friends that I grew up with since preschool, and we were in college, you know, preschool all the way through elementary school, middle school, high school, and into college together, me and him. And we knew each other so well, and we had a very honest relationship, and I guess still do, that people from the outside would tell us, you guys need to stop abusing each other verbally. It wasn't, they didn't use that word, but essentially that's what they're saying. And we'd both turn to them and be like, this is just how we talk to each other. Like, this, we're not hurting each other. I'd be like, are you hurt? No. Are you hurt? No. This is just how we talk. But it looked that way from the outside because of just the style of communication that we had. And it always surprised us. You know, we'd be like, why does everyone think, is there some, I mean, because it was multiple people. And other guys our age, you know, 19-year-old guys that would just be like, you guys are really mean to each other. I'm like, we are? Huh. Anyway, so maybe he just has a real kind of emphatic way. I think that does fit with his personality. And that they have matching sweaters. Those sweaters look great, by the way. I was in a previous scene, I saw it, and it just looks like a really cool sweater. It looks real comfy, does it not?
I'm going back and forth. I should kind of, like you always say, be patient and put out beach wedding like for later. But I don't want to still compromise on getting married here.
Hey, you're so stubborn, Mimi. You're stubborn.
She's just asking for something. She's just saying how she feels. She wants a beach wedding. You're so stubborn because she wants something. Now, previously, I'm trying to remember the style of those conversations. You could claim that. Now, he could make you say, well, but beach wedding is going to be really hard because you just say that. You don't have to call. This is another tip, communication-wise. In your relationship, when you get frustrated, don't say adjectives towards the other person. I have a cut on my hand for some reason. You are stubborn. Okay, that's an adjective. Okay, you don't want to label someone else. It's not labeling. It's critical, right? It's an ad hominem attack. You want to stick with your side of things in those situations. Be like, okay, when you say that you want a beach wedding, it freaks me out because of this, and this. You can say that because that's true, because it's true for you, and no one can debate that. That's another part of conflict, is you want to stay away from debatable topics. Like, a beach wedding is ridiculous. Well, that's debatable. You can say, I think it's ridiculous. Maybe you don't. Okay, that's not debatable because you do think it's ridiculous and other people might not. Undebatable. But to say, this is ridiculous, it's debatable. Clearly, when you have two people voting on whether or not it's ridiculous or not, and 50% say it is and 50% say it isn't, then it's not a definitive fact. But it is fact that you think it's ridiculous. So you always want to stick to where you're coming from. And he's calling her stubborn. And I just don't understand what's happening. Like, the way he reacts, either something's going on behind the scenes, which is possible, and we're just not seeing it, or he's distorted, or something is going on, or he has a hard time accommodating or hearing other people's. So if we went with the hypothesis and the conceptualization that he has some stunted emotional growth as a result of dynamics in his family or something that happened that kept him more youthful, if I might just say that, and that dynamic of what looks to be enmeshment with the mom and how she tends to overfunction, he tends to underfunction. There's not a ton of evidence of that, but there's some. And so if we go from that, then we could extrapolate that people in those dependent positions, even though they're in their late 20s, I believe he is, they still think as though they're a teenager and haven't developed to a point where they really consider other people's feelings the way that you would want them to. And then he, from that, because you can imagine a 15-year-old talking with their partner about some important decision, maybe not getting married, but something else, and not being able to really accommodate someone else just having a different opinion. So a little bit of self-centeredness, not narcissistic, but developmental self-centeredness. We would want 15-year-olds to be more self-centered than they will be when they're 25, right? Because they're still developing, they're still trying to figure out who they are, and we want them to look inward a lot. So is it that?
There is options in California. We can do elopement, California elopement. Nice weather, not buffaloes and snow.
When have you ever compromised with me?
She literally just did. When you were barking at her about giving you space, even though she literally knows I use literally twice, I must be upset. She doesn't know anyone else except for you in this town. And after 1.5 months, you're telling her that she's too invasive to you. And then she, without hesitation, said, "Okay, I'm willing to give it a try." That's a compromise, my friend.
I don't want a spoiled princess. I want a queen. I'm trying to build an empire.
Gross. Jibri is free to have his goals and his focus, but to talk like this towards her in this way is gross to me. I'm here to build an empire. It's all about me. You just compromised. Get out of my life. Give me space. I'm going to build an empire. And the fact that you want to have a beach wedding means I can't build my empire? Jibri, if you want to say we can't afford it, or it's unrealistic, or it's going to get in the way of this and that, or it means that my parents won't be able to be, just make a case. But you are stubborn. Just think about it. She says, I want to have a beach wedding. She didn't say it's even close to the way that he's talking to her. So I want a beach wedding. And then she's like, you're stubborn. And then I think he said you're spoiled too or something, but that was in a previous, anyway. And then I'm building my empire. Let's rewind this.
Yeah, we can do elopement, California elopement. Nice weather, not buffaloes and snow.
When have you ever compromised with me? I don't want a spoiled princess. I want a queen. I'm trying to build an empire.
Just break that down. I don't want a spoiled princess. I want a queen. Meaning, I don't want you to ask for what you want, and you have to just go along with everything that I do. That's what a queen is. I don't want a spoiled princess. A spoiled...
Give me a queen wedding.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not that bullshit Jibri. I'm from Serbia. I still want to have the wedding, but in the way that I imagine it, I still not ready to compromise.
Yeah, if I were her friend, I'd be like, well, what's the emotion you're trying to get out of your wedding? Is it literally tied to a beach? Because there's a lot of different ways to get the emotion that you might be trying to go for. When they brought this up in the beginning of the season, it did seem bougie, as she says. She said, I'm not that bougie, I'm Serbian. I don't know what that means. Does that mean like Serbians aren't bougie or something? So she says that, so in the beginning when she brought up the beach wedding, I thought, oh, it seems rather, I don't know, this flimsy notion that somehow a beach wedding is the Instagram thing or what she saw a famous person getting married. I didn't want to judge her in that way, but it seemed like maybe other people were, and maybe a little bit of me was. But I don't know, still waiting to get more information. As time goes on, it looks more and more like, I think what's happening is that it might have been just a dream just to have a wedding on a beach, because she's not saying I want a beach wedding at a resort or I want this. She just literally saying I want it to be on the beach, and I don't want it to be in South Dakota. There are quote unquote beaches in South Dakota. There are lakes, probably some beautiful places actually. I've driven through South Dakota. There's some real beautiful places in South Dakota. Anyway, so I'm guessing that it's just some sort of association she has. And she could do, she could help herself by communicating about that. That she's like, I don't necessarily need to spend a lot of money. She even said elope, which makes total sense because I don't think anyone wants to be at their wedding. The parents aren't going to be there, so I think by default they'll be eloping no matter what.
That I'm sticking up to, and I just hope that Jibri is gonna accept that. Okay, are you gonna think about the wedding thing?
I'm gonna think about it. I'm not gonna tell you a yes or a no right now. I'm not.
Okay.
Because I know the consequences of this. We're not giving proper time and stuff.
Okay, what are the consequences? Maybe he's already stated them. And she's being super cool and relaxed. Is okay. And he's being, It's I just don't sometimes when I'm watching this show, I'm like, what is happening right now? And that happens all the time. Actually, just using it as a jumping off point. When I'm talking with my couples, clients, I will sometimes have this experience where I'm like, okay, y'all are fighting about something, in my office, but I don't understand what's happening. And sometimes I'll let them, because if I detect that they seem to be mostly functional and healthy or more, I just sort of let them work it out, and maybe I'll point out different tips along the way. But I know that I've really arrived with a couple when the first, after the first greetings and we get things going, the couple will talk for 40 minutes and I'm just watching. And I know that we've really arrived because it means that, one, I am not detecting anything I have to intervene about, and two, that they're able to have a 40-minute conversation about a tense topic. I mean, that, even if there are some bumps in the road, that's pretty advanced, right? So, and sometimes in the middle of that, I will be intervening on something, or even at the end of the session, and I'll say, so I don't understand what the two of you are talking about. I don't need to, because it's your relationship, but I am going to say this, so I always have to say, I could be missing something because I don't even understand what y'all are talking about. I don't understand what the landscape, I don't understand what you're arguing about or what you're trying to work out. But I say, I don't need to, because, that's not really the situation. Sometimes, though, I do need to know in order. Often, I'd say most of the time I do need to know at least the basics, because then that helps me understand the whole picture. But anyway, so when I watch them, I don't understand what the problem is exactly, and she wants to have a beach wedding and he doesn't. He says that he knows the consequence. It makes me wonder if we go with the conceptualization of dependency and underfunctioning from Jibri, which we don't know, that he has a model of relationships of overfunctioning, underfunctioning, and the overfunctioner is always judgmental and responsible, and the underfunctioner is always irresponsible and demanding. And he seems to be, with his mom, he's the underfunctioner. With Miona, it's like he's trying to make her into the underfunctioner or something. Now, she might be, but she doesn't come across that way. Calling her a princess, a spoiled millennial, he said last week. All these kinds of, stubborn. I wonder if Jibri is repeating dynamic elements that where he was the recipient of that, or at least the vibe of that, and he has a hard time not being in a relationship that has those elements.
I'm gonna be hurting the ones I love.
If they want to be a part of it, sacrifice a little bit for your son and come there. If they're not ready to do that, and if they're still pressuring for their imaginary version of perfect wedding in Rapid City, then I don't know what to tell you. It's my wedding. It doesn't have anything to do with...
Yeah, I mean, she's getting upset, but she makes some valid points. It's like, it's my wedding. Well, it's our wedding, meaning it's also my wedding. So I have to give up my wedding because they are, I think, distorted, and because of them, I can't have my wedding, and you don't care. I think she has reasons to be upset. Now, I hope that they're able to talk about this in a way that has mutual understanding. He doesn't seem to be trying to understand, though.
Shouldn't be involved at all. I don't want to be rude to anybody, but I really don't have time to listen to this stupidity anymore. If you would stop stressing them out with your doubts and not just make us even more problems on the existing problems that we have.
All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.